Well, let me say that the Commission is all about player safety and also pushing us to be as professional as we can get. I think perhaps an area for improvement for us is to improve the clarity on how things are adjudicated, so that can give a better consistency around how that's dealt with, both on the field by the match officials and by the match review committee. Let me also say that I think the match officials have done a terrific job this season. This game has never been more entertaining than it has this season. It's been fast. We've seen a lot of close games, and I'd like to acknowledge the contribution the match officials have played to that. But coming back to your question, Brad, around hip drops, it presents an unacceptable risk of injury to a player. And so let me be clear, and let me really simplify it and take the mystery out of it. If you grip someone and you place your body weight directly on their legs, and they hit the ground and you sandwich their legs between your body weight and the ground, that is an illegal act of foul play. It has an unacceptable level of risk of injury, and it's going to be dealt with by the referees and the match review committee. I'm not going to make any apologies for that. We are going to reinforce those guidelines to coaches and to players, and of course to our fans over the coming weeks. Let me say this too. The hip drop tackle has resulted in the most amount of injury to players this season in terms of acts of foul play. So we don't want to see players missing games because they've been injured because of foul play. And as a game, we need to be professional, and we need to deal with it.
Andrew, you say it's all about player safety. Well, what about the fabric of the game? Have you got to get the balance right? Because we're seeing some penalties at the moment for kickers having contact when they kick the football, and I think the match officials are getting a little bit jumpy when there's all this talk about player safety, and that's the priority, but the fabric of the game is getting damaged because you can hardly touch a kicker now when they kick the football. And this one here from last night, he hadn't even kicked the football when he got pressured, but luckily they had a challenge and they could go back. I'm just talking about the match officials are getting a little bit jumpy because of all this talk about player safety. Are we losing sight of the fabric of our game?
That's a great question, and I have a strong answer for that. And that is, I don't think the match officials are getting jumpy. They're having to adjudicate real time. So the referee on the field is having to adjudicate real time in a game that's becoming faster and faster. And that's why we have the bunker official. And that's why we have the match review that happens with the ability to analyse from multiple angles after the game. You're never going to get it perfect. There are humans involved in this. But in terms of the balance of getting player safety right, I don't think the game is being jumpy. I think from time to time you're going to make decisions real time that you might not get right. But the important thing is that you iterate and you learn. There was an example in last night's game that where the rules allowed for the contact to be made to the kicker, and it wasn't deemed late. And I think that was absolutely the right call. So it's about getting the balance right, it's about execution, and it's about consistency. But this is not about over-skewing player safety. It's an entertaining contact sport. It'll always be that. But, you know, the talk of us getting soft, I think it's ridiculous. If you go and watch a rugby league game live or on television, there's nothing soft about our game. But what we do have to do is be doing everything possible. Don't look at it through a player lens or a fan lens only. Look at it on balance and say, what is the professional standard we want for our sport going forwards?
Well, how you'd help that is banning wrestling coaches. Grapples, hip drops, chicken wings, cannonballs, hip drops, crushes, they've all come into the game because of wrestling coaches. Is there a possibility you could ban wrestling coaches from clubs?
That's an absolute possibility for the Commission, and that is something that we will consider. We have a football department cap, and that football department cap allows us to think about what clubs do outside of the salary cap for players around their football staff. So that is an option for us. The other
if it's within the money, they can hire whoever they like.
Well, unless we, you know, the Commission has the ability to consider what rules might be in place to prevent that from happening. That's one way of attacking it. The other way of attacking it, of course, is just to be really clear about what's going to be allowed on the field and to take consistent action on it. But either which way, if you break the rules, if there's an unacceptable risk of injury and foul play as it's deemed, it's going to be dealt with, and you're going to be losing players to the sin bin. The coaches and the clubs and the players need to learn and adapt and adjust. And let me tell you, the teams that do, they're the ones who are going to be at the top of the ladder.